The Free State Agriculture Department has announced a private investigation into stock theft across the province. According to the organization, the abilities and capabilities of police to combat livestock are simply limited, or livestock theft, I should say. This theft has been on the rise in the province, resulting in job losses due to the farmers' inability to keep their farms without stock. Safety risk analyst of the Free State Agriculture Department is Dr. Jane Bays, who joins us via our video link. Also joining us for this discussion is the chair of the African Farmers Association of South Africa Redmeat Chamber in the Free State. That's Tshidiso Ramanamane, also with us via our video link this morning. To both our guests, it's lovely to have you on the program. Thanks very much indeed for your time. I wonder if we could start with just laying the foundation for our discussion. Tshidiso, paint a picture for us about how rampant this kind of theft actually is in the Free State and the economic toll it's taking on farmers.
Stock theft is enemy number one for every livestock farmer. Remember, as livestock farmers, we are making a living out of our cattle, out of our sheep, out of our goats, etc. So this stock theft has been in place. It has taken place for a long time. It's an old story that we know about. And it's crippling farmers because when you lose your cattle, when you lose your sheep, when you lose your goats, you end up having nothing. Take an example of a farmer who only has 5 head of cattle. And overnight, all the cattle are gone. That guy is gone, and it affects him economically, it affects him psychologically and otherwise, and status-wise. That farmer has lost everything. And what is he going to do for a living? It's bad. And the extent is really big when you look at the Free State, because we border Lesotho along the Caledon River. This is the towns along the Caledon River. This is where we experience a lot, and in many cases are incidents of stock theft. And you can talk about places like Webner, Klokland, Ladybrand, going up to Ficksburg, Bethlehem, and Kwakwa also. And we also have realized that in concentrated areas, such as Kwakwa, as I mentioned, Botshabelo, Tabanchu, where people don't even have proper farms to keep their cattle or their livestock, the incidence of livestock theft are very high, and it's killing the economy as well, and food security at large.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dr. Bays, if this is such a long-standing issue, where do you reckon we're getting things so wrong? I mean, is it because of a lack of manpower, a lack of cooperation from police, perhaps a combination of these issues?
Yes, I think it's a combination of a lot of factors or issues. I can just say that in recent times we are asking the question whether livestock theft is just a property-related crime. Hasn't it elevated or escalated to a serious and violent crime? Hasn't it escalated to a contact crime? Because a lot of the stock thieves that is operating in groups and syndicates are operating armed. They are armed with firearms. There are various shooting incidents taking place. Last year in the Kwakwa area where there was an Tshidiso with the 2 MECs in the Free State, it was actually mentioned by the emerging farmers and the subsistence farmers that there are cattle raiding or rustling taking place in that area. A big amount of livestock gets stolen. So is livestock just a property-related crime, or has it become an organized crime? So if it is indeed an organized crime, then it should be dealt with by the police in a different manner, in a different fashion. So that is why we are asking, because when the revision of the Rural Safety Strategy took place in 2019, then the SAPS introduced the OCTA process, the Organized Crime Threat Analysis process, within the new revised strategy. So if livestock theft is then an organized crime, it should actually be dealt with collectively by the SAPs, by visible policing, crime intelligence, organized crime detectives, and the hawks. And then also you get a lot of rumors and also allegations from farming communities that some police officials are involved. So you get that allegations of police corruption also. So then it needs really a different strategy and attention from law enforcement and the SAPs to deal with this issue effectively.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the police, because I imagine people are asking questions around why private investigations or investigators had to be roped in. I mean, what does that say about the trust or the capability of police to get to the bottom of this?
Yes, the thing is that we can actually provide a lot of surveys that we have conducted under the commercial farmers in the Free State. So the trust issue with the police is still a matter of big concern to us. And then the underreporting figure of livestock theft is at least 60 to 70% that farmers are not reporting it to the police. So the statistics that the police release on a quarterly basis, the Minister of Police, is really not a true reflection of the impact and extent of this crime. And then also, when dealing with the shortages in terms of manpower and vehicles of the stock theft units, I think the minister recently indicated that detectives, there's a shortage maybe of 25, 26%. I think it's much more. I think it can be at least 50%, even it can be more than that. So the police are not prioritizing, it seems to us, livestock theft at this point in time.
Who's paying for this, Dr. Bays?
Free State Agriculture actually indicated that they will make available the R1 million because we are going to launch in a specific district, in the Beasley-Derby district. So there is about 6-7 towns that can be highlighted as high crime areas in terms of livestock theft over the past decade. So we will focus on that and then quarterly review it and then launch in different districts. So, but there are a lot of people also involved from the Farmers Association side, and also some of our donors and funds that we actually get together so that we can try and see where, but it will all be in cooperation with the police and the detectives. We are not going to work this thing as a parallel structure or alone. It will be under the rural safety strategy in cooperation with the police.
Sure, all right. One can't help but wonder what that million could be used for, but I suppose this is what you reckon is a necessary intervention. You know, Tshidiso, any business tries to kind of weigh the risks, and hopefully where there are risks, insurance companies come to their rescue. What are the complications when it comes to insuring some of the livestock, at least from your experience?
Hey, and that one is not an easy one, particularly with regard to livestock. Because we find also cases where people are, or farmers, livestock farmers, haven't marked their animals, because by law, the animals have to be branded so that they can be traceable in terms of who the livestock is for. And I guess, again, in terms of affordability, to say how much the insurance will cost you, because remember, black farmers, particularly in these areas of high concentration, even in small towns, because when you travel the whole of the province, you'll see that every time you get cattle, people are grazing along the road and stuff like that. And those are poor people that I don't think they'll be able to afford to insure their livestock. It is very important, insurance on livestock, I agree, but affordability is another issue.
Absolutely. And, you know, I suppose if we're going to get this right, we also need to understand how they work, Tshidiso. Have you been able to at least get to the bottom of how these people, the culprits, are actually operating in a context where part of what we've learned is that this is actually an inter-provincial issue, if not a transnational issue. In other words, if people are going to steal from a farm in the Free State, it's incredibly difficult to track the livestock because it may land up in a different part of the country.
Yes, you're right. You hit the nail on top. Look, this is how they operate, some of them. They also even use what we call commonages, where livestock is kept by farmers that are staying in a particular town. Because of lack of control there, they also use such commonages as harboring the livestock that they steal somewhere and put them there. Some use other farms that we know. Some of those are land reform farms. I was told that there are people who are like a syndicate. They put the cattle or whatever livestock on that particular farm in transit to go somewhere. That is so. And also, they informed us as the AFASA that, as you say, interprovincial. They specifically refer to a specific town in Gauteng, Vanderbijlpark, to say there's an auction that is not controlled. And then when these people steal the cattle in the Free State, they move them across to Gauteng. I'm not sure about that, subject to correction, but this is what they told us. And also the people that farmers hire. Sometimes they hire people that they don't even know where they come from. Some don't even have proper papers to be in the country, to be in the province. And you find that that is a conduit through which livestock disappears from the farmers.
Sure. It's a layered issue, Dr. Bass, and I can't help but think about whether or not there's going to be any meaningful progress made if there isn't some kind of inter-provincial collaboration. I mean, the Free State government could pump R1 million into this to hire private investigators, but how much work can actually be done unless you have some kind of collaboration with your counterparts in different provinces to really get to the bottom of what's taking place here?
Yes, I think it's not the Free State government, it's Free State agriculture. We actually the union representing the commercial farmers mostly in the Free State.
Right.
So just to rectify that. And that is the thing that we need to start somewhere. And we are always in support of the police within the rural safety strategy. But still, it needs a collective effort from both the law enforcement and all law enforcement agencies, not only the police, but then the SANDF, the Border Management Authority, that has a mandate at the borders. And then it needs also the collaboration and support and assistance of the farming community that's willing to give their support. And I think when we are speaking of livestock theft, we are not really highlighting the dire need and the losses in terms of monetary losses that the commercial farmers are experiencing. We are actually highlighting all the subsistence and emerging farmers losses that they are also experiencing. So in terms of that, I think the farmers need to make sure that, as indicated, that their animals are tattooed and brand marked and that they have the animal identification cards. And when they actually transport these animals, that they do it in terms of the correct legislation and the correct documentation. And then as soon as a crime has occurred, they need to report it to the police, because the police can only do what they think in terms of a crime pattern, where they only have 30% of the cases reported to them. So if you do not have the other 60-70%, what are you then? There's a huge loss in terms of information. And any crime threat can only successfully be addressed if there is sufficient information available in terms of analysis. So I think it's a collective effort also from the SAPs. They need to put all the effort from all the divisions in this in order to effectively address it.
Absolutely. It's an important story, this, and thanks for helping us better understand it as we try to bring it to the fore. Dr. Jane Bass is a safety risk analyst with Free State Agriculture. Also joining us there is Tshidiso Ramanamane, who is the chairperson of the African Farmers Association of South Africa, Redmeat Chamber in the Free State. To both our guests, thanks very much indeed for your time.